Hey everyone, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar, here with another brutally honest gear review video. And I'm real excited about this one because I love this guitar. You know, there are a few things I don't like about it, which we'll talk about. And a lot of my subscribers were asking about the JEM. When I was a kid and I was first starting to get into guitar, I remember getting Passion and Warfare from Steve Vai. And I bought the CD and I remember I was just obsessed with the cover. It just looks so cool, very artistic. He's holding his signature crazy painted Ibanez guitar. And ever since then, I've always wanted to own an Ibanez, especially a Steve Vai model. So one of the first guitars I ever got after a few years of playing was the 7-string Universe. And it was great. It was white. It had the pyramids. I missed that guitar so bad. I saved up for it for a long time, finally got it. And then I ended up later on selling it to one of my students who sadly admitted to me that he sold it for drugs. And I'm like, okay, don't tell me any more about this story. So I think I've always had regret over selling that awesome 7-string. And so I was always kind of keeping an eye out for another JEM. And it was decades later that I finally was able to get one. I walked into Guitar Center and all of a sudden on the used guitar wall, I saw it sitting there. And I was like, oh, I gotta check this out. I hope it's not a JEM Junior because I tried one of those out before and it was kind of cheaply made. Maybe it was the one particular one that I was trying out, but it felt kind of cheap and the frets were sticking out of the sides and stuff, so I didn't really like that. It turned out that this is one of the Japanese versions made in 2010, so it's a JEM7V. Nowadays, they have the JEM7V, which is made in Indonesia, and there are a few slight changes with that guitar, but this is one of the Japanese 2010 models. It's a very beautiful guitar. This one in particular, I really love the white JEMs, and it has the gold hardware, which I always thought looked really great. I'm usually not a gold hardware kind of guy, but on a white JEM, it just seems to work. Of course, it has the signature hand grip right here. So a lot of people think that's really strange. I could take it or leave it, to tell you the truth. You know, it's rare that I walk around and hold it like this. If anything, whenever I have a guitar this shape, I just hold it right here by what I call the horn. But usually not by the handle, but it is nice. You know, if you're walking around stage and, I don't know, maybe at the end of the show you want to lift it up and look cool or something. I don't know. So like I said, I could take it or leave it. The headstock is really good looking. It's the white and then the gold logo on top. And this particular one just says JEM. The newer VPs have the word premium or something like that at the top of the logo. I don't really like the way that looks, so I'm glad this one doesn't have that. We'll just keep talking about aesthetics for a little bit. The fretboard. Look at this pattern. This is called the Tree of Life. And I love the way it looks. I've always loved it ever since the black and green Ibanez's were out and you had the vines going up, the green vines. It looks so great. So I love this one because it's the pearl and it's still the Tree of Life. And it looks very confusing, right? You get used to it though. You start to see that as the 1st fret, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th, and so on. But sometimes when you're playing and you're under stage lights and maybe you had a few drinks or something, sometimes this pattern can be a little bit disorienting depending on your situation. But what's good is that's only if you're really looking at it like this. If you're looking at it from the top, you'll still have the dots on the side here, so those will help you out. But yeah, I've been confused 1 or 2 times playing this on stage. The back looks great. You know, the covers here we have as the sparkly pearl looks really great. I really like the way these are offset. And then we have the 5-ply neck, which I like the way that looks. It has the 2 lines that go all the way to the end of the headstock here. It also has sort of a ramping cut right here where the neck and the headstock meet. So it's kind of nice when you're playing and you move your hand down, you sort of feel it rising a little bit when you get to the end. So in a really interesting way, it sort of like stops you from going too far when you're trying to get down to the lower frets, and it sort of acts as like a ramp to stop your thumb. And then of course the sparkly pearl pickguard right here takes up a lot of the front of the guitar, and it looks really great on stage. It looks great in videos. I like to use this guitar a lot in live streams, not just because of the way it looks. Usually I don't get too caught up in that, but it's a very, very reliable guitar and it sounds great. So let's get more into that side of things. Feels great on my leg. It has this recessed part of the body, kind of like Stratocasters have, and it really lets my arm sit comfortably so I could practice on it for a long period of time without having that feeling like Telecasters do where they cut into the side of your arm. And I put this decal on it, this Alice in Wonderland decal, and I really love the way it looks, but it does stick out a little bit, and I put it in the worst possible spot because my arm is always rubbing against it. But when I'm standing and playing, it's not that big of a deal. It's balanced, and it's one of the best feeling guitars I have standing up besides my Jaguar. It just settles itself in the exact right position that I need when I'm playing live. It's very lightweight. I mean, it's not so light I don't feel like I have a guitar around my neck on stage, but it's light enough to where you could throw it around, you could whip it around your neck if you really want to, and it's not going to be a problem. So overall, it's one of my most comfortable guitars to play. I'd have to say the Jaguar, though, beats it out slightly when it comes to total comfort, but this thing is probably top 3 most comfortable guitars I have to play. All right, let's just talk about a few more of the physical qualities of it. The bridge, I can't say enough about this bridge. I love it so much I wanted to buy another one and put it on my Jackson that had since gotten stolen, but I never got around to it. I don't even know if it would have fit, but this is such a great bridge. It's reliable, the fine tuners are smooth. This guitar just stays in tune no matter what I do to it. It's one of those pop-in whammy bars, so you throw it in, and this particular one just falls like that. And sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to use it and then just drop it, like that. And then it's out of the way. On my Jaguar, the whammy bar likes to stay where you put it. I might have to get this one worked on to have it do that. I know I can get it fixed, but for right now, I'm just gonna let it swing and see what happens. The locks here are black and gold, and they hold just fine. Like I said, never had a problem with tuning this guitar. Tuning pegs are smooth and very reliable. There's nothing cheap feeling about them at all. They're the Gato kind. That's what I call them. Some people say Goto, and a lot of different ways to pronounce it, I guess, but they're just solid all around. And I love it when I don't have to pay attention to my tuning pegs. The second you have to pay attention to them, you know there's a problem. Adjusting the truss rods, no problem on this one. We just take off this little cover here. Sometimes I like to leave the covers off, but because this one looks so cool, I just leave it on. Same with the back cover. You'll see a lot of guitar players just take the back plate off here. And I think that's because Eddie Van Halen did that, and we all just copied him. But for this one, like I said, I love the way it looks, so I just leave it on. This particular neck is rosewood. On the new 7V piece, they use ebony, and back in the day, they used to use ebony for this model of guitar, but somewhere they switched to rosewood, so I just happened to get one of the rosewood models. What's unique about this guitar, as opposed to all my other guitars, is that it has scalloped frets. Now, it's not every fret. It's only the highest 4 frets, which is actually pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it from here. So 21 through 24 are scalloped. And that helps so much when you're playing way up here because the frets are so close together that if you try to place your finger inside the frets and they're not scalloped, it's really easy to have it mute itself out because you're not able to get your finger in there correctly. So when it's scalloped, it has a lot of advantages, including you're able to really make a lot of clean notes and you're able to do vibrato without the fretboard rubbing against your finger and stopping your motion. So I really love the way this guitar has the high frets as scalloped, as opposed to having every single fret on the fretboard scalloped. I don't think I would like that very much. I only really appreciate how this output was constructed during live shows because I love how it goes up and then behind your strap and it just gets it out of the way. But when I'm sitting down, it looks really goofy, doesn't it? It's sticking up, then it bends the cable down, gravity's pulling on it, so it's a little bit strange. I'd almost rather have the output jack be where it traditionally is on a guitar, but because I'll be playing this guitar live a lot, I'm okay with it being there. We have no frills as far as compared to the first 2 guitars that I did reviews on, the BC Rich, Mockingbird, and the Jag have switches everywhere. This guitar keeps it simple. We have the master volume, master tone, 5-way switch, which I love because I grew up on Stratocasters, and so I'm really used to that feeling. Since I bought this guitar used, I wasn't sure if this volume pot was really stiff on purpose. I thought maybe Steve Vai wanted it that way because maybe he accidentally hits it live. He doesn't like that. But I did some reading and nobody mentioned that being a common thing for this guitar. So I just happen to have a used guitar with a stiff volume pot. I'm probably going to have to swap it out pretty soon because it's a little too stiff. I can't really do the volume swells and stuff that I usually like to do. So that doesn't seem like a big deal, but live functionality is so important for me. All right, we've made it all the way to the pickups here. We have the Evolution pickups. We have humbucker, single humbucker, HSH. And they sound great. Sometimes though, when I go direct into maybe a plug-in, it can have a little bit of a strange tinniness to the very top of it. But when I play through an amp, it does not have that problem. And I use this so much for live streaming that I've noticed it. And sometimes people will be like, oh, that guitar's got a little bit too much high end. Can you bring it down a little bit? And so I noticed with this guitar in particular, it has that issue where the top just seems to be a little too bright sometimes. But like I said, as soon as I plug it into an amp, it mellows out and it seems to stand out in the mix in a good way. So let's do this. Let's just check out all the different pickup selecting options, and we'll just hear the pickups as we go along. So here's bridge pickup humbucker. Sorry, this trem system is so smooth that I'm always tempted to give it a little bit of a shake. So if I overuse it today, that's why. All right, I'll just play a little bit of that For the Love of God part for each setting so you can hear it kind of with the same pattern each time. The next selection, we have this pickup and this pickup. So we're involving the single coil now. Pure single coil. Big volume difference, but still has a sweet sound to it. Also, with this trem system being so smooth, I always want to play. Little Pull Me Under by Dream Theater. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to be in the 4th position, so we're going to have single coil plus this pickup here. All right, now we have the neck position, so we have the full humbucker up here. Pretty fat, huh? I always like to... It's great to play that on this guitar, it's just so fitting, of course. And these are actually pretty old strings. If I threw some brand new strings on it, it would be that much brighter. But you could see it's a great sound and clean setting. So let's now move on to distortion and hear it there. Strange output jack. All right, this guitar has plenty of gain, plenty of sustain. I love the pickups when it comes to overdrive. And when I turn that amp up, this thing just sings for days. See, so that top end problem is not happening right now because I'm going through an actual amp. It's weird how an amp can balance out that issue. So you could tell that this bridge humbucker just sings, it can scream, it could do anything. All right, let's just move through the selectors here. All right, single coil. So as you know by now, this building has a lot of buzz to it. So that single coil sings, but it does come with a lot of buzz in certain situations. All right, 4th position. Okay, now one of my favorite sounds this guitar can do. It's going to be the neck pickup humbucker. It's so smooth. I gotta do For the Love of God again. This time the very beginning where there's no vibrato, so you can really hear the fullness of it. Unencumbered, is that the right word? It's a really great feeling when you're playing this with the front pickup like that, and every note you hit is thick and full, and it just sings for a long time. It gives me a lot of confidence playing this guitar live just because it almost plays itself. You know, it's one of those guitars that doesn't really fight you very much. In fact, it just does all it can to enhance what you can already do. All right, guys, so this is my Ibanez JEM7V. One of my favorite guitars to play, one of my best shred guitars. And like I said, I use it all the time live streaming because it's so dependable. So you really can't lose with this guitar. I'd have to give this one a 9.8. And I know so far I've been doing really high ratings for the guitars because I'm choosing my favorites to start off with. But in the future, we're going to have some clunkers in there, so don't worry about it. And we're going to have to figure out what the next guitar is going to be that I rate. I'm also going to do amps and pedals coming up. So if you've seen something I've played before and you liked it and you want me to review it, let me know. All right, guys, we'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.